everyone. Thank you for your patience. The board had a closed session for board self-evaluation. Welcome to the meeting of the Oak Ridge Township Board of Education. We're going to start here. Okay, pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the board office, the schools, Cablevision Channel 118, Verizon Fios Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the township clerk. The meeting was scheduled for today, Tuesday, October 14th, 2014. The board will take formal action on payment of bills and other agenda items.
The Oak Ridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of the state establishes members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that act of recording does not interfere with the business of the public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Roll call.
Porcelli? Prima? Here. Dunn?
Present.
Hopman?
Here.
Mongan?
Here.
Singh?
Here.
Silikowski? Weber?
Here.
Andriani?
Here.
Quorum exists.
Thank you. For notice of the public, Mr. Vasili was here for our executive session. He had to pick up his son and daughter, and he will try to return. Mr. Silikowski has some family members that have some medical issues, and he's out traveling from one hospital to another, and I wish him and his family all the best and a speedy recovery. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Did you hear that?
All right, moving through the agenda. We have law recognition. There are 3 sections. Does anybody want to do it?
No, that should be it.
Okay,
3 recognition items.
all right, thank you. Superintendent's report.
Yes, we're going to have a report on, I was requested to provide a report on the iPads, and if the testing data is complete, we'll have a report on district summary on testing, if not, then that'll be in November.
Okay. Progress towards goals. Technology update.
Right, so that'll be one of those 2 reports.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Merrill, you have correspondence that you know of?
I have none.
Special committee reports.
I have
Okay, so we have at least one that's at the facility.
also buildings and grounds.
Moving around. While we're on this about special committee reports, something that came up during one of our meetings was to be, for the meeting, for the committee chairs to be a little more efficient in providing minutes and or agenda items in a quicker manner, so that the board members that did not attend have a full understanding of some of the topics that we discussed. So if we could try and make an effort to do that, myself included, the other board members would be most appreciative. Facility? No. We'll do that next week. You want to talk to me? Okay.
No, it's not that. I thought we were going to advise each other before.
Well, my interpretation, Sal, was that it would be by email or some type of minutes, not here. Because the timing of everybody's meetings is not cyclical for everyone. If you want to tell us, be my guest. Okay.
What I might recommend is that, since on weeks when we have enough information, I provide a board briefing on Friday, that we work out I can provide the board members or committee chair people with a template to report on any information that they'd like to report from the committee meetings. And I can attach that template to the board briefing, and that might be a way towards our goals, our new goals of establishing more collaboration and communication among the board members.
That's very good. Okay, so you provide us with the template, and then if you have a meeting that week, by Friday, you have to give us a time in which we have to get it to either you or Mr. Mayor, whoever's going to go,
Okay.
so that we can get it closer. Good idea, thank you very much. Anything anyone wants to discuss about the facilities usage? No? All right, at this point, it's hearing of residents on agenda items only. Is there anybody here from the public that wishes to make an announcement, comment, question of any type? No? Okay, seeing no hands, we'll continue. Next section is policy, and we do have to have an announcement on policy. Mr. Mara?
Well, first, there's, on the policy of Reg 203, at the end of that line, it should say 2014. And halfway down, where
The head of
the head, it says, as reviewed and discussed at the policy committee meeting on September 15th, should be 2014. And under that, the last item on that policy alert 203, the number, policy number was omitted, it should be 8462, so that's P&R, just add 8462. And on the policy alert 204, the second item, that should be policy 5305, not 5303. And the only announcement I wanted to make is that I suggested to Mr. Słodkowski that we add policy 204 items to this agenda because the majority of them were mandated to be added to our policies prior to having a policy committee meeting. He didn't get back to me on that, so I presumed that I would just put them on this agenda and we can discuss them with everybody here. That's open to whether or not we all agree.
All favor? Yes?
And the other suggestion I would make under bylaw 0155, which is prepared by Chris Barton, the board committees that they're presented to us in a similar manner to the other ones off the staff estimate, where if there are sections taken out as far as, in other words, it's hard to know what the old policy was. I'd like to be able to see the old policy and the new policy simultaneously and make an intelligent decision on what the policy was and the policy.
You want copies of both?
And that policy was actually addressed at the policy meeting, the modification to the existing.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to see what it is before we vote on it, change it.
The only change in the bylaw that you're talking about, Mr. Weber, is the ability for if there is an issue of significant sensitivity that should be vetted by the Board of Education privately outside of the view of the public, in the opinion of the committee chair and the board president. That's what the change
Yeah,
is.
that's fine.
They can be done
Okay.
privately.
That's perfect.
So is this stating that a meeting will not be advertised so that you don't have a quorum of the board, is that?
That's correct. It would be less than a quorum of the board, and it would be not open to the public in circumstances where the board president and the committee chair agree that it's a sensitive issue that needs to be discussed privately.
Similar to negotiations?
Similar to negotiations, this is the way that that committees are held in boards of education across the state, with the only known exceptions right now being yourselves and Monroe Township. Most committee meetings in every other district are held privately as a workshop with the public not included. You have, by bylaw, the public included in virtually every committee meeting, and that's your prerogative, certainly. But this would give you the flexibility in circumstances where it's called for.
Doesn't the board currently have the flexibility to go into closed session when there's a matter that can't be discussed openly?
But isn't this, you could have a closed session meeting, per se, the
Well,
public's
you
not
could
invited.
you could right now advertise the closed session meeting at any time, just as we did last night.
Yes.
Closed session meeting. I just don't understand the need to have this paragraph added. That's
There are
just
some
my
issues,
opinion.
There are some issues that are sensitive, Mrs. Mongan, that are not within the 8 enumerated closed session reasons. So this would just give you additional flexibility. It's what we discussed taking a look at the last policy meeting. The superintendent, the BA, and I agreed with the board that it was something that should be considered as an option, and that's what this language would accomplish for you.
And the one point is with the, if we were to, and since this really came up when the chairman of the finance committee decided that he wanted to have monthly meetings, when we looked at it, we really could not have a finance committee meeting without it being totally public. And there was no option to go into executive session. It would had to be in public. There was no option, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no option to go private if it's a finance committee meeting. Not a finance committee of the whole meeting, but just a finance committee meeting with 4 people.
Correct.
We cannot go into executive session to have any discussion whatsoever. All of this, the intent was to give us this ability to go into executive session if necessary. In the finance committee meetings with 4 people, or any other.
And it's not technically executive session, it's simply a private meeting. Because yes, with 4 members present, you don't have a board quorum, so you're not in a board meeting, so you can't go into executive session.
We've had finance meetings, public hearings, adoptions of tentative budgets, where we've had the calls that went to closed session.
But those have been committees of the whole, which is a different scenario. A committee of the whole is a board meeting.
This is just an option.
That's correct.
So another, like, if buildings and grounds needed to speak about security, maybe they'd want to do it as a, private committee.
That's a good example, yes.
Anybody else?
I have a question on a different policy
Okay.
from above. Attendance. I was reading that there was three different types of attendance problem. One was excused, but was still a truancy issue. If somebody's excused, to me that shouldn't be.
It's the new language.
If you take another look at the sentence that you're talking about, it's not excused counts towards truancy. It's only the unexcused that can possibly count towards truancy. The 3 categories are excused, unexcused counting towards truancy, and unexcused not counting towards truancy. They have shuffled the deck and severely hurt every school district in the state because things like personal illness are not necessarily excused absences anymore. The excused absence is limited now by state regulation to religious observance by students and take your child to work day. Some interests have stronger lobbies than others, apparently. But that is it for excused absence for students at this point. The fear, of course, is that attendance can be tied to state funding. So if the state has created a situation where your statistical attendance will go down, and by yours I mean every district in the state, will that have an effect on state aid? Stay tuned, we'll see.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for policy? If not, we move into curriculum. A lot of this is about curriculum guides. Okay.
Seems to be many curriculums that have to be rewritten more than maybe every time. In conjunction with that, we also are going to be voting on statement of insurance, and the one area that didn't get 100% was because of alignment with the core curriculum. So is this the reason why we have so many curriculums being written?
Well, I think Ms. Kibler can speak to it more factually, but we're behind on curriculum writing for a few external reasons, reasons that happened in the past. Maybe Ms. Kibler would like to speak to, and to get up to where we need to be for not even know if we could reach for this CUSAC period, for future CUSAC period.
One of the reasons that we're behind in curriculum writing is during Dr. Brennan's tenure here, he stopped all curriculum writing, and that put us extremely far behind. And I've never lot of courses at all levels, and unfortunately, CUSAC is not very clear as to whether they're just looking at the core courses or if they're looking at all the elective courses. So we have a great many electives in the high school. And we are on this 5-year plan that we try to adhere to, so as I said, Dr. Jones is way far behind.
Does that hurt our students, and is that what we haven't done in a timely manner?
No, I don't think it's hurt our students because through the supervisors and principals, we have continued to address the Common Core with the teachers and to incorporate the standards into their programs. So, I think, that they have done a remarkable job, and even the people that have been approved to write, I mean, they're really trying to complete all curriculum within the time limit. I think I had 4 different guides that were submitted just last week. So, it takes, we give them 3 months to write the curriculum generally, and if they can do it less time, that's great. And, unfortunately, you're asking an awful lot here. It would be great if I could write by committee, but I can't write by committee. And, that's why there's so many on here.
And just one other follow-up question. Memory serves, I think we used to budget approximately $60,000 for curriculum writing. Are we gonna have sufficient funds to pay for all this? Or will you have to transfer or find money elsewhere?
We budgeted a similar amount this year, so we will have to transfer money.
And approximately how much is all this going to
It's like
cost?
it's about $75,000.
Oh, it's only $15,000. It seems like a lot more.
And even as we're adjusting this, Trenton seems to increase its impact on curriculum writing. They sent us a memo about October 3rd that curriculums must also include any adaptations for ELL students and special education students and the modifications in the curriculum, which has never been placed there before. Kind of putting a foot on the throat of the local districts to try to accomplish this by CUSAC time.
There were about 4 or 5 new requirements in that memo that was sent us on October the 3rd. And, certainly we can comply with that, and the 2 guys that were now going to strike. There's no way that I can go back and do that any time.
And I think next year will be on CUSAC year, right?
No, we're in
This
Alright.
This
year.
year? Yes, this year.
So as I said, we were really, put in the line for it.
Just as a pause for a second, Mr. Vasili is back. You have take a quick look and see if there's any questions that you have as you catch up with what we're at. And we did mention some things about policy, and part of that had to do with the finance committee and a change in the wording of the policy for the opportunity to go into a closed session.
Okay. I'm sorry, where are we at?
Well, right now, we're moving, with no other questions or discussion, we're moving out of curriculum and into athletics, which is page 10.
Okay. The only other thing that I had, and it's not an official policy, it refers to the facilities use form, and I sent Joe a number of questions today. And I apologize for all the questions, Joe, but I know that we've discussed in policy meetings in regards to looking at the policy on how we approach charging different groups for using facilities, and the hours that we're going to put down under the policies as far as what time groups can use it up until what time we would be charging and so on. I just want to know if there's going to be any discussions in regards to that. My biggest concern with that is most of it is very minuscule amounts of money, right? You're talking about, I don't know, if it's $30 or $35 application fee, right? And it's not about us making that money. To me, it's more about charging, a single mom who has very limited income, $30 or $35 an application fee because she's got a Girl Scout troop and she's the Girl Scout leader. But then there's other groups that are using our facilities a lot more often and they're not being charged anything, right? And so I continue to just want to make sure that we are consistent as to who we're charging, how much we're charging, and when we're charging. And the same thing goes to the overtime custodial fees. Because I think that there were teams that were charged last year and teams that were not charged last year.
process is that it goes to the principal of the school, the principal determines if the building is available for those specific times. So all of that is done already. There's hundreds of applications that have already been totally approved. So I wouldn't suggest doing anything this year to modify those applications. What we have done, and I think I told you this already, all of the building, no building closes before 9 p.m. So that should eliminate any overtime charges that were occurring last year for the people that were using the elementary schools. Now, what I answered you today was that if people, it's kind of, it's a strange policy, but we tell people that there's an application fee if you're a nonprofit. And some groups pay it and some groups don't. And historically, we have never enforced that. So we have 2 or 3 groups that pay the application fee without any complaints, and other groups that just refuse to pay the application fee. It's only $20.
Well, whatever it is, I mean, but you can understand my point. To somebody who has very limited income and is doing something as good as being a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout leader, and sometimes $20 or $30 could be 2 hours worth of pay for them, right? So, I just want it to be consistent. I just want to have a policy out there, and either we charge people a fee or we don't charge people a fee, right? And I think that for the nonprofit groups, especially ones that are for the benefit of the children in our district, whether it be Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, or sports teams and so on, there should be an application fee. Our buildings should be available to them, of course, if we're not utilizing the buildings at that time. Of course, our own sports teams would get priority over them. But if we're not utilizing the room, certainly they should be utilizing the room. If the Girl Scouts want to go and use an art room in an elementary school and nobody's there at 4 o'clock, they should be allowed to use that. So I just think, and I know we had the discussion, and I know you had mentioned the same thing in the past, that we send in the check, we take the check and so on, and so that's what we do. But, and then other groups refuse to pay and we don't chase them down. And I'm not saying we should be chasing anybody for $20. What I'm saying is, we should have the policy on the back of the form that should state who needs to pay an application fee and who doesn't. And those groups should not, and it should be clearly stated.
It's there. The problem is, we need to change the policy as you're describing it.
Yes,
And,
so that's my
I'm
question.
not, I'm kind of, we discussed this at our last policy meeting, but then the board wanted to, end the meeting, and we said, well, we'll discuss it again. And this is one of those things where we have to commit the time to sink into it, to have a meeting, sit there. If it takes 2 hours to redo this policy from beginning to end, and then we'll enforce the policy. But it's tough to enforce a policy. We're enforcing a policy that exists that the members of the board don't seem to like. So we have to change the policy, we have the policy meeting into it.
Okay, that's my question. Are we looking to change that?
the next policy.
No, but also as a result of the last policy,
Yes.
we modified, and it's the bigger problem, I hear what you're saying about some people should pay and some people shouldn't. But more of the problem was people were getting charged overtime charges, which is much more
Yes.
substantial than what the application fees were. So
Right.
that we think we've fixed. So
Well,
that-
right.
And we haven't incurred any additional cost to modify the custodial schedule to
Mhm.
do that.
Well, I had 2 concerns with custodial fees. Number 1 was people were coming into the building without having an approved form. And so therefore, I was told, if they don't have an approved form, technically they're not there. And we were incurring overtime custodial fees. So we weren't charging them. But the people that went the right route, filled the form, got it approved by the superintendent's office, put it in, stayed up until the time they were supposed to, but the custodians maybe stayed a little longer than they needed to clean up, they got charged custodial fees. And my biggest concern was that we are allowing people to utilize the facilities. Granted, they're on that spreadsheet, but it doesn't say approved, and we're still allowing them to go in and use the facilities without a form that's been approved. So, making sure that we have a policy as far as how do we approach that. If a group is supposed to use it starting November 1st, and come November 1st, it doesn't say approved on there, and they haven't been approved, they should be allowed to enter the building.
Well, the problem, Kevin, is how do we enforce that? I mean, there has to be some teeth in the policy that gives us the authority to enforce that. We can't lay that responsibility onto the custodians that are here at night. So
Well-
either an administrator has to be in the building, telling people they have to leave because they're not allowed in, So but we have to establish how to do that, and we haven't been able to figure out how to do that for years. We're trying to take it piece by piece, but I think we need to develop the policy that makes it work, and we have to have somebody here at night, other than the custodian, to manage that situation, because the custodian can't throw people out.
Okay. Well, we discussed it in the last policy meeting, right? We discussed about utilizing the security officer to be able to police that in every building.
That's only the high school.
Well, at least for the high school and the two middle school buildings, I thought. Okay. Well, we need to discuss about ways on how to police that, right? Because that's a breach of security in my mind.
Well, we've talked about that at another meeting
And we
this
talked
week.
about that as well.
About
Yes.
during hours of operations, we had a tremendous improvement in security, but after hours of operations, when the buildings are open for community use at now, there's no pass keys that people are, so that's a concern.
Well, this is something which we have to work with policy. Obviously, we have a very complicated access control system to the building. We can do a one-time pass for individuals who can approve on a key fob or a card or disposable card. And then, once that time zone is expired, they don't have use of it again. So these are things which we need to discuss.
Is that, okay, just to clarification for myself, are we talking about giving somebody that's a Girl Scout leader or a recreation?
Just for that time zone.
basketball
So
person?
if it's for Monday between the hours of 7 PM to 9 PM, the key fob can be programmed for that specific time period, and that's it.
Yeah, but you know, Richard, and that sounds great, but what happens when, you know, Mr. Smith walks in with Mr. Jones and they're
Well,
not
then
part of
that
it,
goes
then
to the
what?
question, what do we do to police? Do we
Right,
hire
well, that's the question.
additional staff to
That's the
watch?
question.
So it's very difficult to determine what costs.
How are they getting in the building to begin with? The custodians letting them in, okay? I know at the schools where my daughter goes to Girl Scout meetings and my son did Cub Scout meetings and so on, and I was a Cub Scout leader, and if I didn't have that form, that custodian wasn't allowing me to use that art room, okay? They weren't allowing me into the building. So that needs to be enforced, that if that form is not approved, they shouldn't be allowing people into the building, right? And the principal can be could be telling the custodian, by the way, tonight there's a Girl Scout meeting, you know, it's okay to let them in, it's been approved.
The
Or
custodian-
tonight, I don't have anything that's been approved, you
The
should let
custodians
them in.
receive a binder, and the assistant comes, the information comes from, the whole form that the building use form, they have a binder, so they know what programs are going on in the building at night. But it still gets down to the point, and that's why this conversation is better had during policy, because it's gonna need a major revision into how we're doing things, because schools have changed.
Okay.
We used to be like a park, it was open to all, and, whoever wanted to come in, but now times have changed. So, but it's really not the job description of an outside custodian who's supposed to be sweeping the floor and cleaning the buildings to check people's applications and then throwing them out if they're not, in something, in elementary school, it's one person, by himself.
All right, well, I think we should table this policy, but I just want to bring that up.
Thank you. Athletics 1 and 2, and number 1 doesn't have anything. Moving into finance.
No, we had to change the wording. We went to the wording that was proposed was, in item number 2, was board secretary. And the SBA requires that for those 3 words to be school business administrator. So we suggested, if they said it might go through as a board secretary, but why take the chance? So just a modification of something that was approved months
Just
ago.
thought I was having a deja vu moment.
No.
Already.
Can we, get a motion to move numbers 1, 2, and 3? I think that's it, right? 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, and 3.
So moved.
Thank you, Whoever. Need a second? Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Mr. Nara, roll call, any discussion? Okay. already had a discussion on the change in language. All right, Mr. Mara, roll call, please. Finance Committee,
Marcelli?
Yes.
Kramer?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yes.
Longo?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Andriani?
yes.
Motion to committee council.
Okay, thank you. All right, in the same sections, we're going for Rule 15. Any further discussion on any of those?
Number 7, I believe that you should be
Yes.
14.
Got it.
Any further discussion? Okay, moving into non-certificated personnel office.
Just got a question on the first item for terminology. Is the written family leave, that's, I assume that means that someone will be in 2 days, an hour, 2 days kind of routine. So how do you handle, do you use the same term, the same subs or this continuity?
It depends on the situation. If we had one situation this year where we knew specific dates that the person was going to be out, so we're able to try to secure the same substitute. But if it's random days and we don't know until the day before, then we can't do anything.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I'm open for discussion for non-certificated personnel operations. All right, moving into non-certificated personnel, other.
Is that a mute point? Mute?
You and move. That's numbers 1 through 14, for personnel other. Hearing no, seeing no hands, hearing no voices, move into certificated personnel.
Yes.
Numbers 1 through 13. I do see the family consumer science on there.
We're good. We
We're
are
good.
There will
All
be
right,
an
thank you.
issue.
That's one of those areas that's very difficult to fill.
You have a candidate who has completed everything. We have a few other blanks that we'll be filling. Thankfully, actually.
Madam President, I noticed a few things on the agenda which I don't want to get into. Are we going to have an executive session afterwards, or?
We are going to have an executive session for attorney-client privilege and school facilities. If there is a personnel item that doesn't pertain to an individual in a negative way, then we could add that to
Okay.
executive session as well.
Non-certificated personnel transportation. Supplies, equipment, and services. Transportation.
I'd like to commend the director on motion number 5. enforcing and putting it on the agenda when a contractor is either late or doesn't perform in accordance with the terms of their contract, and that, there is a consequence, so I think that's, good to see.
So noted, Ms. Ryan, thank you. Miscellaneous? How many boxes is 74 Is it tool or is it wool?
Two boxes at 37 minutes.
Okay, moving on to miscellaneous. Yes? Yes. Okay, hearing of residents on any district item, issue, concern, question, answers, don't even say it. Don't say it. For those of you in the back, Mr. DePremer is looking at his watch and making a comment about the timeliness. And once that happens, it's a submarine. There any questions, concerns, issues, comments? I see some staff members in the back. You want to have, Kevin, you have anything? You have it back, Kevin?
Well, now
No?
that you met, no.
Me, no.
No? PTSA? No? SEPTA? Mentoring? Band? I'm looking to see all people at Union, nothing, going once, twice? Who wants to say something? Nothing?
I just have a quick question.
We were this close!
I was trying to avoid you.
All right, Sal.
No, it'll take 30 seconds, and I can't find it now because I'm looking for it. I wanted to say the consumer science position. Culinary, is that on here?
Yes,
Okay, but it's no name.
but we have a name.
Okay, good, that's good news, thank you.
Yes, it is. Very difficult to find somebody to fill that particular spot.
It's in the oven, just not done yet.
I'm sorry?
It's in the oven, it's just not done yet.
Okay. As long as it's in the oven.
All right, old business, we're ready to skip over because Mr. DePrima has new business. So last call, anybody have old business to discuss? Mr. DePrima, you're up.
Okay, I've been approached with 2 questions regarding concession stand, and I'm glad Kevin's here, you might be able to help out on this. Is there any way to get a monitor/scoreboard in the stand itself, so people that work there actually know what's going on with the game? 'Cause most of them.
I did not ask for that, by the way.
I did.
You know.
No, it's-
Would be a good idea, but they
You
won't
know,
do
there's
it.
some people in there
No, I
that
agree.
don't have any ties to the school anymore, and some that children are playing, and
Well,
they
there were
want
32 people in the stand last time. Somebody could go out with a bullhorn.
I
Top
was doing
story
that.
tonight.
But, you know,
Somebody
people ask
broke
me to
their
bring things
jaw,
up,
we
I
don't know
do.
about that.
I
Tyler,
don't
Tyler
know
broke
Kevin, you
his
can
jaw,
make that
and
happen?
if it's just
He
running
went
a
to
few
the next
wires,
morning,
I don't know.
said, "Mom,
I'm not an
it might-"
electrician or a technology
It's
person.
like, you don't know anything that's going on.
Get a radio feed from Mazola.
That would be nice.
Even a speaker, I guess.
Speaker.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about technology or electrical
I like
or.
that idea, so.
I don't know, it's
I mean, if it's gonna be something that's gonna cost $1 million, it's obviously not. If Kevin's guys could do it for $60 from Home Depot, maybe it's.
I'm all for it as long as we don't spend $1 doing
Yeah.
it.
You can't do anything for $60.
So are you saying that we could provide a screen and cable and our own electrician, like we could just.
All right, so
Can we put that on the technology list? Can we put that on the list?
the technology list, I was suggesting buildings and grounds and finance.
Oh, okay, because I just want to make sure it doesn't trump
I
anything.
wanted to take it
I'll
as
have
far
a
as having
TV
a
screen tomorrow.
sportscasting class and have a couple of students up there in the box so we can play my We'll start with a speaker.
Maybe listening into
There's a
the,
part to that also.
Baby
the
steps,
offensive
baby steps.
coordinators with their.
Ms. Moore?
I think Ms. Moore, go ahead, Ms.
A microwave. Now, yes, most of us have $50 microwave you can buy in Walmart in our kitchens, but I don't know if that would work in there, or you need an industrial $500 one. These are just things that people.
When I was a principal at Old Bridge High School, Kevin, in the closet next to the nurse's office, there was about 5 of them. So I'll have, Kevin, can you have?
I'll get on over that, Dave. I'll
check on that
steal one
closet.
tomorrow for you.
Will the electric hold it?
I'll steal one for you
Will
tomorrow.
the electric handle it?
Yeah,
Kevin?
yes.
Well, we,
So
well,
it's a
we-
transfer of equipment, you're on tape,
You
Mr.
gotta,
Camp.
you have to put it in the middle, on the middle island in those outlets
Where
there.
are they, you said?
There's a closet next to, after the nurse's office.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think they were taken out of an old, economics room, home economics room.
I'll look
And,
into tomorrow.
I'm not sure. Somebody asked me about warming stuff up and I said, you know, I'll
Get the
bring it up.
frozen hot dogs, and then before you put them on the grill, before you, whatever it takes.
If that's,
We
you know,
need
if
it
it's
for the
gonna make
sauce.
somebody's
If
life
it's
easier.
free, it's for me.
For the
And what was it?
mozzarella sticks.
We said
because
two.
hot
Well,
takes
no,
up
this
too much
is
time.
not the stand
Believe it or
now.
not, we use it
Look,
for
people
microwave.
approach me, you know, I have a responsibility. I don't know how many people have been to football games, but sometimes, especially like the pink out, if anybody was there, the line of students goes all the way up to Ticetown Road. It was brought up that the ticket window, I guess, was not looked at properly supposedly when it was built. And people feel that if instead of having 2 separate windows, if there was one long window, you could fit like 4 ticket people in there and it would be much more efficient. Obviously, again, this is not gonna be a construction project. Kevin, is that something that guys can just knock out the middle of the wall and expand the project?
No, you can't just do that, so
Is it a support beam, is it wood, is it?
everything needs an architect these days.
I don't know. I'm not mistaken.
And the work that was done on the, field house was cosmetic, there was no
We did that.
construction, they're changing the footprint.
No. The person in charge, I guess in charge of tickets.
So then, to that end,
We can set up a table outside.
right, Mr. Dupree had an exact change table at one point.
Well, I was helping
Right.
answer the way.
They won't give us
Right,
tickets.
but an exact change window. Easy pass.
That's it.
Okay, that's it. Anybody else?
TV
New
screen,
business?
I'm working on a TV screen.
I have one thing.
Okay,
We're using tickets.
Mine?
go
It's
for
more of
it.
a public service announcement, but this Saturday, Old Bridge High School Orchestra is doing a green car wash, wash and wax, meaning that they're not using water, so it's good for the environment. They have some sort of product, they spray right on the car, they wipe it down, it cleans your car and gives you wax.
And it's free.
And it's free. They are looking for people to, with the way that they're doing it, is that they're looking to do it kind of as a wash-a-thon. They're gonna wash 100 cars. So if you would like to donate, and I have a form here, you can sponsor 10 cents per car, we total $10 when they do the 100 cars. So, and what they're looking to raise money for is the orchestra will be going to Boston in the springtime, which includes a tour of Harvard. So,
I think they're really gonna clean up on
it'll
it.
be at Paul Sam.
That was a good idea.
All right, Mr. Vasili, put me down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 10 cents a dance, put that. Anybody else new to the order?
I think the town forum on Thursday.
Oh, I'll do it, forgot.
Yeah, that's good.
Put my name. Wait, you only have to be a board member.
Nope, anybody. And go get your car washed.
I have
What is that?
Saturday, it's
Do you need the money now, Kim?
11 to 3.
I can pay you at 12:01. Get it?
Yes,
Safe driving pledge, everybody here should take the safe driving pledge so that Old Bridge can win $100,000.
tell us
It's gonna be on the
how. Wait, no, stand up, face the camera, let us know.
Oh, okay,
Everybody
well,
needs to know.
Okay, so we need to take, everybody in the township, we're encouraging them to take this safe driving pledge. It's through Lori Updike and SAD and the township, and it's a joint effort. The winners, they signed up to this grant possibility, and it's on our web, and you can check it out there and get the website from there.
So we go on to the district website
Go
or
on
the
to
school
school,
website?
the school website, or the district website, the district website, and you can go on there, and you'll find out all about it, and then you can take the pledge, and then we get credit for it. The towns that have the most pledges will be getting grants, and the grants start at 100,000 and work their way up.
Okay, can you say that into the camera now?
Vote.
What is it called?
Safe driving pledge.
Safe driving pledge.
So the item that, the other item that was discussed was Old Bridge Municipal Alliance Forum. It's called Facing an Unpleasant Reality Together, about drug abuse and the recent heroin epidemic that's taking over the East Coast. It's October 16th at 7 p.m. in Old Bridge High School Auditorium. That is the day of homecoming dance, so please drive carefully into the lot and make your way back to door number 8. The keynote speaker will be Doug Collier from, Doug is from the Attorney General's office. Thank you, and I hope to see you there.
Anybody else? Mr. Basili started with the good of the order and then asked for donations. Mr. Weber? No? Swing me around, Mr. Singh? Nothing today, Mr. Singh? All right. Ms. Longan? Mr. DePrima? Ms. Hoffman?
Or make something, or
Take a picture, send it to me.
make a pencil.
Mr. Dunn? Ladies? Would you like to say anything this evening? Ms. Kibler?
No, I
No?
just mentioned the forum.
Okay. Okay, now the announcement from our legal advisor.
Yes, we need a motion to go into executive session, very brief, to continue.
I'll try for you.
You guys just gotta watch the
Attorney-client privilege for personnel.
Then we'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Thank you for coming. Spending quality time with me today.
All in favor?
Over some
All right. All in favor, has ever been noted, Mr. DePrima said no. So did Ms. Howe. And as far as the public is concerned, there will be no further action, we will only report back to the Thank you. So we stay, you have to go.